Hello and welcome back to 4FS Gaming. Over the last week we have received a massive amount of information regarding new content for Star Wars Battlefront 2, and in this video I'm going to list what is coming and when it's coming, and then talk about some of the problems that DICE are facing with this game's development at the moment. There is also something that is really concerning hidden amongst all of these announcements, and it has me a little bit worried that EA is getting ready for another cash grab, so stick around for that at the end of the video. If you want to chat and play with the 4FS community, come over to our Discord server, linked in the description below. So let's start with what is coming this week, which is the second part of the Han Solo season. We will be getting a new map, which is Kessel for those that have seen the movie, and some new skins for Han, Lando and Chewie, to make them look like they do in the Solo movie. Extraction, which is a game mode where you must escort a payload, will be making a return. It will be playable on both the new Kessel map and Jabba's Palace. Kessel will also be playable in the smaller game modes, but not in Galactic Assault. There will also be a third Millennium Falcon hero ship. Yay, what we all wanted. It is going to be Lando's Falcon, and it's going to be lighter and faster than the others, so at least it's going to be a little bit different. There is also a whole lot of small balance changes, bug fixes and UI updates. Highlights including changes to specialist health and weapon ready times, removal of holograms upon character selection, and buffs to the ion torpedo. In reality, that's not a whole lot of content, but we also just had the EA Play press conference, where a whole lot of new stuff was confirmed. This will be coming sometime in July or possibly later, however there is a fair chunk of stuff here. We're going to be getting 4 new heroes, including General Grievous, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Count Dooku, and Anakin Skywalker. I found it funny that Dennis, the design lead on Battlefront, said that General Grievous was a droid. He's not a droid, guys, he's a cyborg. If you go in by the old Legends canon, Count Dooku actually staged the explosion which blew up his ship, which destroyed his body, so that he had to be put in a droid body. I'm sure he had a reason for that, but it's not canon anyway, so who cares. They're also going to add the planet of Geonosis, and it's apparently the largest world that they've built in the game so far, and I am looking forward to see how that goes, because Geonosis is awesome and iconic in a Battlefront game. There will be a Starfighter hero ship game mode. It seems like a Starfighter variant of Hero Hunt from the previous game, where if you die, you're going to spawn back in as a regular ship, not a hero ship. There are also discussions of a large-scale game mode that is similar to Conquest, but it's not going to be Conquest. And apparently there's also going to be a roadmap coming out towards the end of this month. But we have heard that before, at least they're trying to be more communicative with their fans. Battlefront has been struggling to regain community confidence since release, and despite a renewed progression system, reintroducing microtransactions, and promising to release more content, is all of this enough to inject renewed vigor into the game? These 4 new heroes may sound like a lot, but it really doesn't add a whole heap of content to the core game. Most of the time you won't notice that there are extra heroes. What we really need is more reinforcements, maps, weapons, star cards and vehicles, which are more or less absent from future plans as they are currently announced. I mean, where are those droidicas? Of course, I'm hoping that the heroes and Geonosis are just the highlights and there will be strong supplementary content, but we'll see how it plays out. Going forward, there are 2 other issues that DICE have to face as well. The first is matchmaking in a dwindling player base. In many server regions, it can be almost impossible to find a match in most game modes, and adding new game modes will just fracture the player base more. This will make the matchmaking even more arduous, empty lobbies will be even more prolific. This is something that has to be tackled or many more people will be pushed away, compounding the problem. My suggestion would be to group game modes into playlists, so that the matchmaking can pool a larger group of players together and then implement a map and mode veto system similar to those earlier Halo games. Or you could just give us a server browser. That would be nice of you. Another problem is that of Conquest. All anyone really wants from a Star Wars Battlefront game is Conquest game mode. Capture command posts, jump into vehicles, spawn with your squad, and play on a non-linear map. Due to a desire to distance the franchise from Battlefield, Conquest has thus far been avoided to the great detriment of both Battlefront games that EA have produced. The problem is you can't just chuck Conquest onto the maps as they are now. they are too linear to make it work most of the time, and if you opened up the entire map to play simultaneously, not just in separate phases, then only having 20 players aside would make them seem really empty. This is something that needs to be figured out. Short of making a new set of altered maps and implementing higher player numbers, both of which I assume is very expensive and hard to do, I suppose they could insert some bots to fill out the armies, or limit such a game mode to new maps like Geonosis. Regardless, I'll leave that level of game design to the professionals, and I hope they can figure something out, because we really do need Conquest, or something very similar, if this game is to have a future beyond the end of the year. Otherwise, I feel interest will really fall off. Conquest game mode is the heart and soul of games like this, and the fact that it still doesn't have one is a bit concerning. Now remember I said at the start that there was something that was announced that concerns me more than anything else? Well, if you look right down to the bottom of the patch notes for Solo Season Part 2, there is a little dot point that says the credit payout has been adjusted to reduce the time in match credits by 20%. The justification here is that then you will get more weighting upon actions that you do instead of time spent when you earn credits. Now I can agree with that, that's fair enough, but unless they also increase that credit payout, then they are simply throttling the credit rate overall. I estimate that at least half of your credits each match come from time spent, so that means that there could be a 10% reduction in credits earned across the board. Now why exactly is this a problem? Well, we can spend both real money and credits on skins, right? And in cases like this, a lot of game companies will surreptitiously try to reduce how easy it is to earn their in-game currency so that you will spend more real money on cosmetics. Now, I'm not saying that this is what they are trying to do necessarily, but it is similar to what Bungie did with throttling XP in Destiny, and we have to be aware that this could signal the start of the same system here. So how can we know for sure? Well, a few weeks ago, I started collecting data from our Discord community server on the credit payout of individual matches. We now have hundreds of entries and can calculate the credit rate per minute for each game mode on average, and averages per individual match as well from this data. We will then be able to compare that to whatever the new credit rate is after this coming patch to see if there is a discernible reduction in the rate that we earn credits in the game. If so, we might have to ask some serious questions as to where this is heading, and keep in mind when considering what other tactics might be employed to exploit consumers as more and more purchasable cosmetics are released. If you want to help out with this process and contribute some of your own post-match data, please come over to our Discord server linked in the description below. Now this might just turn out to be nothing, or not matter even at all, and it almost certainly won't impact upon your enjoyment of the game. I just think that microtransaction systems need to be carefully scrutinized and held to account, and this is one way that we can contribute in that area. I'm going to be staying up to date on any more news coming for Battlefront 2, and expect some information and guides about the new reworked specialist sometime next week after this next patch drops. Thank you so much for watching. This is Ascendance from 4FS Gaming.